beauty of the kicking area. Like you don't need the rest that the rest of these guys necessarily need. So we'll have a competition, bring some guys in, and the best guy will play on Thursday.
So if there's a competition tomorrow, the best player on Thursday is Greg part of that competition? Jeff, I'm just a little unclear on that.
We're exploring all the options right now. We really are. So we're going to bring the kickers in for a workout, see where they stand, and make a decision after that.
One of the things you preached since you became the coach is accountability, and so you have a guy like Zuerlein who's obviously not performed his job up to his capabilities. So how do you stand in front of the team and preach accountability if he's not being held accountable?
Well, in my opinion, accountability is controlling the controllables. His lack of making kicks is not a byproduct of lack of work. Not putting the time in, not devoting himself in every way to the process of trying to get right. So accountability to me is it's not always just the results; it's the process. A lot of times we can't control the results. So there is no part of me that could ever question his process. I mean, he's as professional as it comes, and his process is always right. He's as diligent as I've ever been around, not just for a kicker, for anybody in any position in this game. So from that standpoint, you could never question Greg, ever.
Jeff, on the long pass on the final drive to number 9 that got them down inside the 10, we talked to Sauce afterwards in the locker room, and he said he didn't know that he wasn't going to have safety help there. He explained that there was the blitz that Jalen had to go cover another route that was there. What broke down on that play when you reviewed it today? Yeah,
we need to play better at both positions. The safety could have definitely helped him, and then Sauce could have played it better as well. And then ultimately, I could have put us in a better call. So the combination of those three things, just not good enough, especially in a moment where we have to be at our best. That's finish time is something we preach around here, and it's not to the standard.
Jeff, when you go back to the second delay of game on the 2-point conversion, what went wrong there? What led to that delay?
Yeah, all of our pre-snap stuff from an offense perspective has to improve. More urgency out of the huddle. More certainty as far as exactly where I line up formationally, what I got to do as far as the route is concerned. All of it has to improve. Because when you get to the line of scrimmage with urgency, we all know historically Aaron he's a weapon at the line of scrimmage as far as analyzing a defense and getting us in the right call, but also his cadence has forever been a weapon. So we need to be better getting to the line of scrimmage. We need to have more urgency. We need to have more certainty in what we're doing. We do that, and that will be vastly improved.
Jeff, did you take us through the decision, the 4th and 1 on the 11, when you decided to kick it in the third quarter? How much did you consider going for it there, and just why did you end up kicking?
I just wanted the points, in all honesty. Wanted the points, wanted an opportunity to take the lead. Felt like the defense was playing good football at that point, and I was going to put it in their hands.
Other than possibly kicker, do you foresee any other changes this week in whatever players? And you spoke yesterday about taking a long look about the play calling for yourself. Do you see any changes?
It's still early. We'll look at everything humanly possible. From playing to coaching to all of it. But I'm going to maintain play calling. I'm trying to create as much continuity on this coaching staff as possible, and I believe that's the best thing to do as far as that's concerned.
When you what's your process like, Jeff? When you go after a game like last night, I mean, that was obviously a crushing loss. Do you get right into the film as soon as you get back to the office or home, or how do you unwind, and how much do you beat yourself up after a game like that?
That's an interesting question. I mean, my process starts on the bus ride. So as we're leaving the stadium, I grade the tape before I even get to the plane. And then by the time I get to the plane, I'm already writing notes and ways to improve, things we could have done better. And I really try to assess myself first, how I called the game, what calls I would have changed, some things that I would have done better in that way. And then I start to take a hard look at the players, our execution, what we're doing well, what we're not doing well, and then by the time we got back here to the facility last night, then I was already on to the Houston Texans, and starting to formulate the plan. Obviously, with this being a short week, being a Thursday night game, got to keep it moving, so put the game to bed as quickly as possible. Obviously, we're gonna reflect on it when we get to the players today and grow from this tape, because we have to neglect this tape would be criminal. It'd be egregious, because there's things that need to be fixed and need to get better immediately. But at the same time, quickly move on to the Houston Texans.
We'll take a few more questions for Coach.
Trying on me. Jeff, I think when people look at this team and look at the roster and see, there's a lot of Pro Bowl guys, all pro guys, some guys who are going to have gold jackets someday, probably, right? And why is the sum of the parts not adding up right now, in your opinion?
We're trying to figure that out. Right now, it was interesting. We've kind of taken a look in so many different ways. Energy was obviously the big topic last week. And we talked about making sure that the energy was right. I felt the energy was right. The preparation last week, and then that carried into the game. That was not a problem. You talk about strain and effort. That's typically where you look next, and I felt like that was right. What it ultimately came down to was the execution, and across the board, and that's something that's on everyone, not just players, not just coaches, the collective group. We're not executing like we're capable of executing, and until we do that, this thing will not change. So we got to get better in all that we do when it comes to performing the plays and performing the techniques. Performing all the base principles that we know and we own at the deepest level. So that's got to get better.
We'll take a last one.
Have you ever had a season like this as a player, as a coach, where you started like this and then things did flip execution-wise mid-season?
I actually did. I was part of a coaching change when Mike Nolan was fired in San Francisco and Mike Singletary became the interim. And we went through a similar lull after the fact, and then we caught some steam and some momentum late, and got going in the right direction. So I have been through something similar.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, guys.